There we go.
Okay, so we have Lucy Hammill joining us, who is Head of Workplace Experience at PEXA. And Lucy and Fiona will be talking about the benefits of flexible work schedules,
Yes.
more than just a perk. So, Lucy, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks, Tony. Hi, Fiona. How are you?
Yes, Fiona's all warmed up and ready to go.
Yeah, that was a fantastic session. Thanks,
Yeah,
Fiona.
so great. So thanks for joining the conversation, and I'll leave it to you.
I was saying to you, Lucy, it's a bit like speed dating.
It is, isn't it? Well, Fiona, I'm happy to kick things off if you like.
Lovely.
Fiona, and I'm sure you've just shared this with the audience just now, but you're a clinical psychologist with extensive experience.
Health psychology specialist.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
something like that. Yeah.
With extensive experience in creating wellbeing programs for individuals and organisations. So I guess we should start with the big question: what are the benefits around flexible workplace environments? Would love to hear from you, particularly around all the research and evidence that you have and insights.
Yeah, so the research is pretty clear when it comes to workplace flexibility. We know that when we look at those high-level things, we know it improves retention. Why is that? Because actually people like it generally. It's attractive to talent. People like the idea, the good people who want to work in an environment that allows them to bring their authentic self to work. That can be very helpful. And it encourages diversity, because we know that for some people, we've got lots of top talent, maybe they're mums, or maybe they've got various issues that mean work maybe at different hours, that you can actually get a more diverse workforce when you think about the person. We do see across the board an increase in productivity and increase in employee engagement. So people are much more likely to want to work and do good work. And there's all that lovely stuff about fewer missed days and increased feeling of personal control. And I'm interested in the personal control because one of the biggest predictors of employee well-being is feeling in control of your work. Having autonomy in your work actually leads to your sense of satisfaction, because when someone else is telling you how to do it, but you've got a better idea, it can be a real conflict in the workplace. And when there's flexibility, often there's more opportunities for development. For instance, there might be courses that you can take and develop. And those are high-level things. In research, often what we do is we look at, overall there are increases in diversity, there are increases in engagement, increases in productivity, all those beautiful things. But how does it work in practice? Because we do know that there are some issues around it, such as how do you develop a culture of inclusivity when people are all over the place and maybe coming in at different times. So why I'm interested to talk to you, Lucy, is that you've actually done this. This isn't just about widespread research. This is about what's happened in your company. So tell me how you have made, what you've done around flexibility in your world.
Fantastic. Thank you, Fiona. I guess as far as flexibility goes, it's definitely part of PEXA's DNA and ethos. So it has something that we have recognised as fundamental and critical with just associated with wellbeing, engagement, and then, as you mentioned earlier, productivity and output and performance. So we completely agree with those points you made earlier. Last year was a very challenging time for not only PEXA and the employees at PEXA, but across the board globally for organisations to really pivot overnight and work 100% remotely for up to 12 months. And some people are still working remotely. I'm at home today as an example. And there were a lot of learnings that we learnt last year, and many benefits recognised with the option of working remotely at an increased level. For instance, we really identified that there started to become an even playing field between headquarters and also employees that were based in different office locations. So that was something that we definitely recognised we wanted to keep as a learning for in the future, whatever the operating flexible model would look like. And there were a few teething issues around etiquette, meeting etiquette, and the sheer volume of meetings that people were setting up to communicate with each other. So we tried to address them, as they popped up, but reactively. For example, with the volume of meetings, we carved out what we call no meeting Wednesdays, or Wednesday mornings. So we recognised that time for every employee. We weren't able to set up meetings with each other internally. And it was an opportunity for us to use that time how we liked. So whether it was to literally go for a walk and regroup and really impact our positive well-being, or if it was to tackle the overflow of a crazy inbox that some may face when you get into that Wednesday morning checkpoint. So that was fantastic. But I think what we fundamentally realised is that some of these learnings and remote learning is here to stay. And so we really wanted to identify a hybrid operating model moving into the future to really celebrate that flexible working environment. So that obviously entails virtual and face-to-face and office environments. So we really, we tried to think about what is this, underpinned by, and we identified 3 key principles. So one is all around that sense of culture and connection, and how do we maintain that sense of culture and connection in a hybrid operating model. The next one is all around safety and our well-being. Mm-hmm. So when we mean safety, it could be cyber security, it could be psychological safety, it could be ergonomic setup, whether it's remote or if it's in the office environment. And of course, well-being is critical in every component. And then the third one is around workplace technology and having that tech infrastructure to support that hybrid model. And of course, meeting etiquette, which you touched on earlier around that sense of diversity and inclusion, and ensuring that we are creating, once again, that even playing field and a hybrid operating model that is inclusive, no matter if you're dialing into a meeting from at home, if you're in the office hosting that meeting, or if you're hosting different members from different areas or locations globally.
That's amazing, Lucy. So you've covered some of the things that we're seeing out there right now as an issue. I'm interested in the culture one, because we are facing that ourselves. After COVID, we've got a group of people who almost never come into the office. So how are you addressing that?
Great question, Fiona. And I think this is something that we're continuously trialing, testing and learning. We're going through many iterations. And I think the key things for us is, one, we identified what we call engagement representatives across every single department over the business. And the intention is to check in on a regular touch point around pulse checks, how people are feeling, general sentiment, and be able to kind of report back to the HR function and the key leaders within the business and adapt and refine accordingly. And the other key piece is just spot on. We have, like many organisations, it has been challenging to get people back into the office to some degree. We have definitely, in our case, we've set up team back to base days, what we're calling. So each team has a dedicated day to come in and connect and collaborate as a team. And really, have that opportunity to conduct workshops and do planning sessions and really have those human heart elements and touch points. And I think the third initiative that we have just rolled out, which we personally are seeing quite a lot of success around, is what we call connect events. So celebrating moments that matter to our people. And really bring together around peak moments. So whether that be something as small as, having a morning tea in the office environment, or as large as an annual offsite pending COVID restrictions and things like that, just to really bring people back and celebrate that moment of being face-to-face again. But once again, it's all a balance, and we're still testing and learning. And, I think ultimately we really want to ensure that we are getting to that hybrid balanced approach where we do feel that sense of connection, whether you're at home or in the office.
Oh, Lucy, you're talking my language, because the research shows us that flexible working works, but you have to have connection, and that's connection with teams. And so we talk about celebrating success. Celebration is incredibly important for people to keep motivated in their work. And when you're celebrating success, you have to feel like it's a shared success, I think. So as leaders, we know that it's about setting small goals and actually celebrating those and doing that even when people are not in the office. So that might mean that in your weekly check-ins that you're actually saying, well done. So setting things that you can see that people are doing well, but also as a team, because I think this model is here to stay. And I'm very happy about that because the research shows that that's good. It's not always possible in every work environment. For those work environments where it's possible, we should embrace it, but we have to make sure that we're doing the things that we know create a great working environment. And culture is one, checking in with people, because what do you do when people are away and they're languishing and you can't see them? So how do you create the environment where you're checking in with people? It used to be, as you say, you bump into people in the corridor. They're there. Now it's like we possibly have to put that on the agenda and check into that quiet person who we're not seeing every day. And that flexibility and adaptability that seems to be something that we know in the theory, and we're trying here and around New Zealand to do, but you've been very flexible and adaptable and learning along the way. So what do you think of the 3 takeaways, Lucy, from your work?
One would be to empower and trust your people. So I guess it's around outcomes and, performance-based outcomes, as opposed to the perception of being seen 9 to 5, 5 days a week in the office. So fundamentally coming down to that trust element.
Yes.
I think what has, for example, helped us has been around creating some guidelines for our people leaders and for our individual employees and contributors around flexible ways of working and respecting each other's choice for what their flexible way of working is.
Love it.
And I would absolutely, even if it's at minimum, for example, 1 month, I would absolutely encourage to have those back to base connect days, because as you just touched on, that human element, that heart element, that opportunity to collaborate and connect face to face is so important for the future.
And do you think the trust, because trust seems very important, because when I hear people who don't want to do this, it's about, I don't trust my employees. So when you see trust, are you seeing a better leap in productivity? What are you seeing?
Absolutely, there's a direct correlation, and I believe there's a direct correlation with employees backing themselves, being more creative, and increased sense of drive and satisfaction as well. Yep, hand in hand.
I love that. And so I think that if there are leaders listening to this, I think that what I'm taking from what you're saying is that if you have the guidelines, then that's actually empowering your leaders. You trust your people, but you're measuring along the way. So you're actually seeing the benefit. And so it's not just a holus bolus of everyone go out and do what you need to do. This is actually done in a very structured and safe way. And looking after culture, actually, you're probably going to create a better culture, because it's so important that once you put it on the agenda, that you're putting your energy into it, that you're going to be able to create an even better culture. It sounds like your culture is pretty great, but that you're actually putting more into it than ever. So some of this, Lucy, because it's actually really important for us to hear what's happening in the real world. And I just say, well done. It's incredibly heartening to hear.
Thank you so much, Fiona. And I guess if I can just add, practicing what you preach, as cliche as that sounds, and starting from within, and leaders really demonstrating this firsthand around flexibility, I think is just absolutely core. So thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. It's just amazing, isn't it, Fiona, how there's some great companies to work for.
They really are.
Oh, wow. Some of the thinking is light years away from where I've been in my career, but never mind. Thank you very much.
There's time, Tony, there's time.
Yeah, next time. Next life. Okay, thanks Fiona, and thanks Lucy very much for being with us this afternoon.
Thanks so much.